Hey guys, welcome back to Quick Start Coaching Code Live Bootcamp. We're here in week 2. And as I've been providing you in these, what normally are live streams, this one's recorded, are some distinctions, some keys to the locks on the doors of starting your coaching business successfully. And today, this is a real nuts and bolts distinction, but it is kind of based in concept, what I call the new client equation. And this is really, it's really part of the master key to getting new coaching clients, new paying coaching clients in your coaching business. And I say that because there is a domino effect that you need to set in motion in order to get a new paying client. A new paying client doesn't just walk off the street and just suddenly, jump into your practice and pay you to coach them. There are three different events that need to occur, and those three different events are the different aspects of the new client equation. Okay, so in this video I'm going to show you the new client equation, how to use it in order to get new clients, how to position yourself strategically using this equation, and talk about each item in the equation, exactly what it is and how it's measured. And then I'm going to break off into some of our live coaching sessions that we've run in past boot camps to show you not only some more details about how the equation works, but also some examples of the reality. I'm going to show you living proof during our boot camps of brand new coaches getting new clients, new paying clients, using the new client equation. Actually, you'll see it in action. You'll see it in reality. Then we're going to come back and talk a little bit about some of the more advanced aspects of new client equations that are above and beyond just what you might do as a one-on-one coach when you're starting your coaching business. And we'll show you how advanced this equation can actually get. So, starting off, though, I want to make sure that it's clear as to exactly what each item in this equation means. Now, you're going to see this in the videos where I'm covering this in the live bootcamp, but I want to be really clear here because I'm not as clear during those coaching sessions. So, number one, the P in the equation, this first item in the equation, the P, stands for prospecting. Now, I had literally had a coach ask me this today during the bootcamp. What is prospecting, Jeff? It's actually a really important question because a lot of times when coaches hear me talk about prospecting, like getting in touch with potential clients and trying to set up free sessions with them, they think that means like posting on a Facebook group or, sending an email to a bunch of people, or putting a sign in, somewhere out there in the world, like advertising or something like that. They think it means like networking with people and like getting a business card, or even handing out your business cards to somebody or to a variety of people. None of that's prospecting. I mean, you could argue that any of it is in some way, shape, or form prospecting, but in the new client equation, it doesn't count. Okay, so do you need to network to get more potential clients, to add people to your database, to create new connections? Maybe you do. Should you be on social media posting things? Maybe you should. Maybe you should even post a free session offer. I know a lot of our coaches in our boot camps have actually successfully gotten free sessions by posting free session offers across the board on in social media. So I'm not saying don't do that stuff. I'm just saying it doesn't qualify in this new client equation as prospecting. So now what does? Number one, prospecting is a live conversation. Okay, it's not an email. It's not some message that people receive 3 days later. Okay, if it's that passive, you ain't prospecting. You're like marketing or just pushing out publicity. Okay, that doesn't count. Does it help? Maybe, but it doesn't count. So it's a live conversation. Ideally, that is either a face-to-face live conversation where you're actually talking to somebody and they're physically there, Or it's a phone conversation, a live phone, let's say like a Skype conversation, or voice to voice, cell phones, landlines, audio conversation where it's live, right? Not some walkie-talkie message that's received later on Vox or some other device, right? We're talking about you talking to somebody live in reality, okay? Now, the farthest you could stretch this is maybe like text messages if you're SMSing back and forth with somebody, or maybe you're DMing somebody and they're talking back and forth with you live. Sometimes that can happen, like over Facebook. It happens from time to time. Obviously, over smartphones, that could happen. So there are various examples of where you might still have a live conversation without necessarily voice-to-voice communication or face-to-face communication, and it could still work. I mean, I've definitely seen some of our students set free sessions via live SMS, or especially like Facebook messages live, just talking back and forth like a chat room basically, okay? So I don't think that's ideal, but if you're live, if you literally are live DMing somebody and they're responding, I'm not talking about like you wait 3 days for them to see it, right? I mean, like they respond immediately, instantly. They're typing something, you type something, they type something, you type something. Same with like text messages. Okay, I mean, if you're doing that for hours and hours on end, it qualifies as prospecting, I believe. In this day and age, that could totally qualify as prospecting. And there's other forms of prospecting that still are helpful, but they don't qualify in this equation. Okay, so ideally, voice-to-voice, face-to-face, live conversations, where, and this is key, it's not just having a chat with somebody, but it's where you actually ask the person you're talking to have a free session from you for them. I'll say that again. Prospecting is a live conversation where you're actually asking someone to commit to running a free session with you as their coach. Okay, you're actually forming a coaching relationship. You're requesting to form a coaching relationship, at least temporarily, like a one-time free session, okay? If you just have like an hour-long conversation with somebody who you like to run a free session with, but you never actually ask them to do a free session, none of that counts as prospecting, okay? But if at the end of that conversation, you talk for 2 hours, let's say, and then you say, hey, do you want to do a free session? I'd love to run a coaching session for you, and I'll coach you through that session. Okay. That's prospecting now. Make sense? So the dividing line here is whether or not you actually attempt to sign them up for a free session, attempt to get them to commit to that. Maybe they don't even schedule with you. I mean, ideally, you could just handle the schedule right then. But they say, yes, George, yes, Jeff, yes, Sally, I will do a free session with you. Happy to set that up, right? They're willingly agreeing to run a free session with you, all right? And then finally, at some point in that process, you actually complete the process. You set the session. If they don't understand coaching, you explain it to them. If they have objections, you handle them and discuss, kind of coach them through those issues. If they say no, you make sure that they're really satisfied with the no and they don't have like a concern that can be handled. Like you really take care of business with them. Does that make sense? Like, and the way I would say this again is that you complete the process, whatever that really means. Okay, get the schedule handled, make sure they understand what they're signing up for, clarify what they need to prepare before the session, just whatever it is that needs to occur so that they're satisfied, whole, and complete as a result of this prospecting that you've done with them and the attempt to set a free session with them or the successful setting of that free session. And you too, like if there's something you need to handle for yourself, you got to get it handled, okay? So live conversation, ask to set a free session, complete the process. When you're actually doing those things, usually in that order, right? Whatever time you're spending to actually do those things, that's prospecting time. And so that like an hour of prospecting would be an hour of making those calls, setting free sessions or attempting to do that, and completing those processes as you're talking to people live. Or at least like leaving messages for people where you're trying to talk to them live, but maybe they just don't pick up. That's considered prospecting as well. But, leave a message, like complete the process. Hey, I'm calling because I want to get in touch with you to talk to you about something. Call me back. Here's my number. I'll be around. Look forward to connecting with you soon. Right? Whatever that message would be. Make sense? That's it. That's prospecting. Now, we could broaden that definition, but for this purpose, I want to keep it simple for you. What are free sessions? Now, this should be a little bit more obvious to you, but I will give you my definition to clarify. So a free coaching session is a coaching session. Some coaches like to make their free coaching sessions really into just sales meetings, right? Like sales appointments, where you're not giving any coaching, you're not really providing any value whatsoever. You're just selling, basically. So to me, that doesn't count as a free session, all right? Now, there are free session models where that's all you're doing is just enrolling somebody. It's truly just an enrollment session. There's really no value transfer going on, other than just the value that they hope that they'll get once they sign up and they pay for your coaching, and then you actually give them coaching. You're really not doing that. So free coaching session is actually a coaching session. You're adding value, you're giving them coaching, you're giving them a sample. Doesn't have to be a ton, but just something, or throw them a bone here. And in addition to that, you ask them during that session, or as an extension of that session, you ask them to sign up for paid coaching. So it's a coaching session that chances are is going to be free. Although a lot of times initial coaching sessions without an ongoing agreement could be paid. Like, I don't do free sessions anymore, but if I do run a session, somebody will pay a reduced amount in order to have a session with me, right? So I know they're serious. I know that they really want the session. I'm getting paid a little bit for my time, and I get rid of the people that are just wanting to take something for free from me. Okay. Now, I definitely wasn't doing that early on in my business. I wanted every session I could because nobody was going to pay me for a coaching session at that point. But times change, right? And the supply and demand equation has changed in my business, and eventually, hopefully, it does for you as well. But you're starting out with free or usually very cheap coaching sessions. You ask them to sign up for paid coaching. You're actually saying, hey, would you like to sign up for coaching with me? Here's how much it is. This is what it looks like. Do you want to do it? And then, again, you complete the process such that they and you are satisfied, whole, and complete with whatever conversations took place, so you can walk away, whether they're enrolled or not, like everything's okay, right? Like everybody's clear on and satisfied with the choice that they made and what's going to happen after that. Okay, so free session is a coaching session where you ask your prospect to sign up for paid coaching, and you actually complete the process. You're responsible for doing that. Finally, a new client, NC for short. A new client is just someone who commits to paid coaching with you. They act verbally or they sign an agreement, something. They're committed, right? You really get they're committed to pay you for coaching, and they pay. And they pay. So new paying client, that's why I like to call it new paying client, just to be really clear, but new client for short, is someone who commits to you somehow, some way, to work with you on a paid coaching basis, and they pay you for the coaching. Now they may not pay you everything, they maybe make a deposit or something like that, but there is a payment made. I don't consider anybody a valid client, like a new client, a new enrollment, unless something is transacted here, right? That's just a huge part of kind of the traditional expectation of this is for real. Make sense? So that's it. Prospecting, live conversations. You ask to set free sessions, and you complete the process. Free sessions, it's a coaching session, real coaching, where you ask them to sign up for paid coaching, and you complete the process. And finally, new paid client, someone who commits to pay you for coaching, and they actually put some money down, they make a payment towards the coaching arrangement that they've committed to as well with you. That's it. Now, with those extra clear, extra detailed definitions in place, let's go to a couple of the coaching sessions I've run in the last couple years in QUICKSTART Bootcamp, where we talk more specifically about not only how this works and why it's important, but how to deconstruct your ultimate goal for getting your coaching business started or building to a full practice into this equation, so you know exactly what your business plan needs to be to assemble, like, really your dream practice, and exactly what clients you want to get, how many clients you want to work with, the money you want to make, etc. And I'm also going to show you in the coaching session itself proof that this equation works exactly as I'm about to share with you, with live coaches that are in the bootcamp actually successfully using this equation right then and there. So let's take a look. So what I wanted to show you here is we talked about the master key to the coaching business being free sessions, but I'll give you a little bit more detail as far as how those relationships show up specifically. So what you're going to notice here, and then we're just on team totals. This is just like flat numbers. What you'll notice is that the prospecting hours that are done are always going to be more than the free sessions that you set. And the free sessions that you set will always be more than the number of new clients that you get. Okay, that's the ultimate equation here, is your prospecting is more than your free sessions is more than your new clients. And of course, your new clients is where all the money comes from, on all the that's your business, right? That's the oxygen in your business. So if we know that that's going to be the relationship, and by the way, you can see it in this shape, that's this little stair step thing, kind of like goes down like that. That's exactly, prospecting is greater than free sessions is greater than new clients. Same thing here. Totally different group, different people, right? Different geography, friends. Like, you guys have completely different lives in so many different ways. Prospecting is greater than free sessions is greater than new clients, right? 6 is greater than 0. 6 is greater than 0. 8.5 or 9 is greater than 6. Same thing there, right? So you see this relationship? This is making sense? So now what to do about that? Well, if you know that your new clients will never exceed the number of free sessions, you want to set a lot of free sessions, because you'll want more new clients, right? More free sessions, more new clients. If you also know that number of free sessions is generally never gonna, or not at least initially, gonna exceed the number of prospecting hours you put in. Now, there are people that will go outside that equation. Like, there's just, they have fantastic networks and they can make like 3 calls and they get 30 free sessions set. Okay, those are just exceptions that prove the rule, though. You can see this is the overall tendency. So if you know, hey, I want 5 new clients and I need to set, at least like probably 10 or 15 free sessions for that, I need to do at least 15, 20 prospecting hours. I don't have to do that this week, but over time, I need to get those prospecting hours in so that this equation works out in my favor. That's it. If you don't walk away from this bootcamp with anything more than just that equation and the confidence that that's the way the coaching business works, then you got more than what you paid for, because this is the key to at least starting this, if not actually optimizing this and getting it to be more and better and more sustainable, etc. These are the basics of it. Now, do we want to go beyond this equation? Of course. Like, I don't do the P, but I get hundreds of FS, hundreds of free sessions. I don't P, so I get lots of free sessions. You get what I mean? Like, I'm not doing the prospecting personally, but my team is, and so we're still doing tons of prospecting. And we have machines out there in different ways that, like clients come to us and free sessions generate from a lot of that. And that's that's after 20 years, right? And after building a lot of different things. If you want to build those, you totally can. I also notice most coaches tend not to be very adept at building the kind of machinery that we built to be able to kind of usurp this equation. But anyone can do this. Anyone can call and talk to people. Anybody can set free sessions and run them. And anybody can ask somebody to enroll in coaching. There is no one for which that is unattainable. Okay? IQ levels, different walks of life, etc. I asked everybody I know. This is how this is always doable, and this is the equation generally that drives the coaching business. I've never seen an exception to that. I've just seen people that have modified how they plug into this equation instead. And positioning your action plan, because this is a part of your business plan, reverse engineering your outcome, like starting with the end in mind, and then working your way backwards from what needs to happen in order to ultimately culminate in that result. Deconstructing your ultimate goal, or even just your goal for the quick start, and how many clients you want to get, or whatever, and then looking at the parts that make that up, which are basically these three parts: prospecting, free sessions, and new clients. So, for instance, I want 10 new clients. I can expect that maybe I got to do about 40 free sessions, and I got to do maybe 60, 80 hours of prospecting. That could be your first 6 months of your business right there. The goal is to get 10 new clients. Now you know, and you could break that down into weekly, hourly, monthly, whatever action goals or action commitments that you and your mastermind, or you and your coaches, or you and me, we manage together and make sure that you're actually up to that activity. Some of the more successful coaches that I've mentored and worked with over the years, every time they come to a session with me, they will tell me, here's how many hours of prospecting I spent. Here's how many free sessions I set, and here's how many clients I got. And then for those that if they do speaking or some other major element that has an impact here, they'll tell me what that number is as well. Just the sheer simple metrics of it. And they're just really responsible for that. They're powerful with that. And they bring that into the coaching discussion so they can get support on how they manifest these types of things. So I don't want to say this is your business. Your business is so much more than a number. But these numbers measure the amounts. And amounts in business, if you haven't noticed, they really make a difference. They can matter. It could be the difference between you being in business and not being in business as well. The pattern that you're seeing here, and you can see that in this graph, we're measuring prospecting, free sessions, and new clients, prospecting hours, and free sessions set and new clients. And what you can see with Cat Mastermind really clearly, because they're on the board with the new client already, is that the prospecting hours kind of stair step down to less free sessions, which stair steps down to less new paying clients. And quantum results, although your hours are much less and you guys are just barely on the board here, you can also start to see there's a stair step. So what you need here, it's most important to focus on, is the thing that starts it all, which is this thing called prospecting hours. The higher your prospecting hours go, the more of the other stuff will occur. And so if you're doing some things, but you don't have a new paying client yet, like quantum results like you're experiencing right now, really, this is not a matter of trying to figure out how to get the person to buy coaching from you. Although you could totally think about that. I'm not saying, ignore it. But it's actually more a matter of making sure your prospecting hours goes high enough such that you actually get to the point where you've got a paying client show up from it. So and again, this is just the first week. This will change over time. But you can look at Cat Mastermind. They got one new paying client for the first week. But look how many prospecting hours it took to get there. They did over 20 hours of prospecting. That is not completely unheard of. I mean, if you did, let's say, 5 hours of prospecting per week, that, let's say, equates to about 20 hours in a month. So, and let's say your goal was, I want to get one new paying client every single month. That's my goal. And if I do that for a couple years with, a little bit of attrition and some people referring and enough business, I'll end up with a pretty full practice. Maybe not completely full, but a couple years to build a business that could replace my job income. Not bad. Not bad for 5 hours of real work per week, right? So that's actually very realistic and actually pretty good to be able to prospect 20 hours, set 5 free sessions, and then get a client out of it. That's actually not out of the ordinary. It's real results. This graph is based upon what you guys said happened. I'm not making this stuff up. So that stair step pattern is the pattern to understand and appreciate about the reality of the coaching business. I'll say it a little bit more clearly. I put this together in a slide deck here. So we'll come back to this later, but I just want to give you the first part right now, because if there's nothing else you learn from this boot camp, learn this. If you don't learn this, but you learn a bunch of other cool stuff, your coaching business will still suffer. That's how important this distinction is. And so here it is. This is what you might call the new client equation. The new client equation. I mean, this is what we're after, right? New paying clients. That's, for most of us, the measure of whether a business got started, whether a coaching business got started, or whether the coaching business is successful, is did we get paying clients? Did we get enough paying clients? That's the question we probably are going to ask. So this is the equation that you want to understand. It's the one I just showed you, but I'm just going to speak it as clearly as humanly possible as we go through these slides. The equation is P is greater than FS is greater than NC. And this is almost like a law of nature. Sometimes FS can exceed P, but very seldom. Usually, almost always, it's the other way around. So P is always greater than FS is always greater than NC. And this is what that means. P is prospecting hours. FS is free sessions. And NC would be the number of new clients. So you'll always do more prospecting hours than you set free sessions, at least at the beginning of your business. It's kind of like gravitational pull. At the beginning of your business, you're like that space shuttle that we're looking at on our slides. You have to, I mean, that space shuttle has to put all this energy just to get like 3 feet off the ground. Once it's let's say 30,000 feet off the ground, it actually takes very little energy to get it to go farther and faster. But in the beginning, at the beginning, the gravity, the energy that it takes more, I don't know, liquid helium or oxygen or whatever it's using as fuel to make this thing go than it actually goes. It doesn't go very far for the amount of energy that it puts in. And it's the same thing. Think of that energy that it's putting out to get off the ground as your prospecting hours. You're going to put more prospecting hours in than you actually set free sessions. So if you did a prospecting hour last week and you're like, what hey, why didn't I get free sessions set? Well, it's because you did a prospecting hour. You only did one. Now, if you did two, you got probably a good 50% chance or more, depending on your skill in that area so far and who you're calling, that you got 1 or 2 free sessions set. You're probably not going to have 3 or 4. It's very seldom that happens. And by the way, I know there are a few that reported in that they didn't do any prospecting and yet they set a free session. Wait a little bit. Those results, if you don't do any prospecting in the coming weeks, those results will tend not to continue unless you're already an internet marketer or you already have some already existing business that you're leveraging. With leverage, you can overcome that, but how much leverage does the space shuttle have when it's on the launch platform? It has 0. It's sitting there with 100% of the gravitational pull working against it. That's where we start, most of us. That's where most of us start. So prospecting hours, you're going to need to put more of those in than you get free sessions. That doesn't mean that if you do 5 prospecting hours that you'll automatically get, only 1 free session. You might get 4, but you'll seldom get 5 or more, at least at the beginning. And eventually you'll know exactly what to expect with that. But that's after you get a baseline together after a number of weeks and you see what's expected. You just don't really necessarily know until you start that. And this one's much more like gravity, which is that the free sessions that you set and or run are always going to be more than the new clients that you get, because you don't get new clients without having done a free session with those prospects. So if you set 10 free sessions, you're not going to probably get 10 new paying clients, and it's almost impossible to get 11 because you have to have somebody sign up for coaching that never did a free session with you. And how likely is that? it's not impossible, but it's for when you're starting, it's almost impossible that happen. Again, unless you're leveraging some already existing leverage that you have. So if you run 10 free sessions and you're really good, you might get 5 new paying clients, but it's less than 10, right? So, and if you're not so good, you might get 1 client out of those 10 free sessions, which is totally okay. You just find out where you are, but it's going to be less. It's not going to be more. This is like the wind blowing. It doesn't like it is what it is. We can judge it. We can try to get around it. We can try to break the rule. Maybe you can bend it if you're super smart, but you will find over time if you don't respect this equation, it's like jumping off a roof saying gravity doesn't exist. You may not believe in it, but it believes in you. It will break your leg if you don't fall the right way, jumping off that roof. And I see coaches jumping off roofs in their business left and right. Now, am I saying you shouldn't try to be strategic? Am I saying that you shouldn't try to plan out how you can make this, how you can bend this equation as much as possible in your favor so you can be a little lazy and you can, take maybe do a few less prospecting hours? Yeah, I'm not saying don't try as much as you can to make this easier. But I'm also saying that while you're trying to make it easier, also respect gravity, right? Appreciate the reality that this is what you're working with, especially at the beginning of your coaching business. So that's, by the way, and again, you'll see in the stats, part of the reason why we do those stats is literally just to prove that this equation is always true. You might see it wiggle here and there, like, in week 3 or something, but then it snaps right back like gravity does. You can defy that law for like 10 milliseconds, and then all of a sudden you're falling again, like Wile E. Coyote. So this is really critical to know. And if you can appreciate and believe that this actually exists, which I think you will by at least the end of the boot camp, then it's just a question of whether you're willing to deal with it. So the willingness to deal with this and the understanding that it is reality, especially in the beginning of your coaching business, is the ultimate weapon that you have to get your business started and then to grow it to the point where you get into orbit. Like, I don't need to prospect anymore to set free sessions. I have systems that do that for me. I don't need to prospect or run free sessions myself in order to get new clients. How many of you did I run a free session with in order for us to be in this coaching relationship? Probably 0. So, but that was years later after I got into orbit to the point where that it was even temporarily possible, like doing a speaking engagement or something like that, where you really throw the laws of physics out the window for a short time. Or when I spent years and years to cultivate, an internet funnel, internet coaching client machine that we teach some of our advanced students how to do in Master Coach University. Yes, it's doable, but it's not one of those things you want to try in 30 days in the very beginning of your business thinking that that'll just solve this. It generally doesn't. I personally haven't seen coaches where it has. I'm not saying they don't exist. I've seen a lot of coaches though. I've seen always coaches that utilize this understanding and employ prospecting against the belief and willingness in it. They always come out on top. It's just a matter of time if they stick with it and they're persistent. So example would be, let's say you want 10 new clients. That's like the big goal for, let's say, the first year in your coaching business. You want 10 clients, 10 new clients. It's not a full practice. Maybe you end up with 5 after some people don't continue. But you want 10 new clients the first year. It's possible that this might be your equation. You might need to run 40 free sessions in order to make that happen. That's about a free session every week or so. Maybe taking a week off each month, something like that. Each work week that you're doing, you're running a free session at least. But in order to set and run those numbers of free sessions, you might need to do 60 to 80 prospecting hours. So if you do the math on that, you can get a sense of how many prospecting hours you might need to do each week, right? Now, you might find that you need to do way more prospecting and way more free sessions in order to get those 10 clients. I know coaches personally that have to do, like, they did 100 free sessions or so, and they only got a few clients. And I also know coaches that have done 10 free sessions and they got 5, 6, 7 new clients too. So I don't know where you'll be in that equation. That's a skill set and a peer group question that I can't answer for you until we do that study or until you actually try it out. That's where the unpredictability is. But this is just one example of a potential new client equation that, by the way, if you do enough prospecting this boot camp, you could actually figure out what your equation is before the end of the boot camp, and then just base your first year of your business on that equation in terms of knowing what are the minimums of what I need to do to make sure this business is actually going to do what I want it to do. That may not be easy, but it's not that complicated. So any questions about this this new client equation that we just clarified? Yeah, prospect. If you want more clients, do more prospecting. It's really like you don't have to make it more complicated than that as we're getting the ball rolling. Really good. All right, did that make sense? I hope it did. Did you see the proof? Was this exciting to actually see real paying clients coming from these other areas? Prospecting, more prospecting than free sessions happening, and more free sessions than new paying clients. It just always works that way. Now, the last piece today is I'm going to show you a couple advanced new client equations that I don't recommend you doing when you start, but I want to show you how easy this can get. Okay? So when you start out, as I described and as we've already discussed, you do a lot more hours of work than you get free sessions and paying clients. 10 hours of prospecting, maybe 5 free sessions, maybe 1 or 2 clients, right? So it's a ton of work, and then, less opportunity, and then even less measurable results and income as a result. It's not exactly the most exciting equation, right? It's just real, but it's the way to start. However, I'm going to show you a different equation here, actually 2. And the first one is a new client equation for utilizing the internet. And so the first part of this equation, as you can see here, is I instead of P. So instead of doing active prospecting, you're now spending time building your internet coaching client machine, as I like to call it. It's a system that you devise and design using content and valuable coaching and web properties, web pages, blogs, etc. All sorts of different items that are assembled together in a systemic way such that prospects flow to you. And so this equation operates in such a way such that every hour you spend working on that machine that's supposed to generate you at least free sessions, if not paying clients, every one of those hours will actually generate, ultimately, in the long term, not immediately, but in the long term, will generate for you more free sessions than the number of hours that you put in. How's that for leverage? So I've spent, probably, I don't know, maybe 3,000 to 5,000 hours working on my internet coaching client machine. And that includes like employees and partners and their work hours as well. Like all told, less than 5,000 man hours. I can guarantee you over the last decade plus that I've been utilizing an internet coaching client machine to attract clients to us, we've gotten way more than 5,000 free sessions. Now, if you put 100 hours into your internet coaching client machine, you may not get like 150 free sessions. You may get none, right? That's the challenge with this, is it takes a lot of those hours on the internet and really grinding away and putting a lot of time and energy in to get to the point where that equation starts to turn around and break even, and then ultimately be a lever where every additional hour you put in, you're getting back way more paying clients, and ultimately way more free sessions. So the total number of hours you put into that business ultimately is exceeded by the number of free sessions. And so now you've got leverage. Now what you put in up front is actually less on an hour to session basis than the number of sessions you're going to be able to generate for yourself. That should get exciting for you. And then, of course, the number of free sessions will still be more than the number of new paying clients that you get, unless you're using other internet levers that I won't get into. And that's really not a part of this equation I'm trying to share with you. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next one is E is smaller than FS, which is bigger than NC. So what does E mean? E is events. So events are things like webinars and teleseminars and live guest events, free guest events, speaking engagements, just anything where you're teaching or sharing or promoting one-to-many in an event type of atmosphere, meaning that you in some way, shape, or form are kind of the guru or the leader or the orchestrator of a group that comes together to see you, and maybe others as well, but at least you know that they want to see you in general. That's one thing they definitely have in common. So an event, basically think of it like platform speaking as a business. This is a whole business unto itself. But I will tell you, the number of hours that you spend running, like promoting and running events, will definitely not exceed the number of free sessions that you can generate from those events, assuming that there's any real leverage in your events and you're not just running an event with like 2 or 3 people. If you have got marginally successful events, this equation will have leverage for you. Okay? So what I mean is, let's say you spend like 150 hours putting together an event that has let's say 300 people attend. And out of those 300 people, let's say you run that event for a half a day, and they all attend, and they all love what you have to share, and then you get more than half of them to sign up for free sessions. Bam! All of a sudden you spent, maybe 100, 150 hours like planning and promoting and doing everything you can to get people into that event. But now you got like 200, 300 free sessions. So you got more free sessions than the time that you put in. That makes sense? Now, again, obviously that's based upon and is very much hinging on the success of your event. But again, I'm talking about if you are really an event professional, you're somebody that understands how to run a successful event and you've really made that your business. Okay, I'm not talking about amateur event stuff here. Okay, I'm talking about workshops, running sales meetings, going into an office complex and giving a speech there, Rotary, anything where you are setting up an event, a webinar, teleseminar, etc., and you have a crowd of people that you get in front of you to set a free session, and you do that repeatedly for years, not just like for a month and hope that it works out. I'm not talking about somebody dabbling in this, okay? That's not what we're talking about. So in those cases, every single coach I've ever seen that uses events professionally and successfully, like they really are good at it, they do not spend more time promoting and running those events in terms of hours as compared to the number of free sessions and ultimately new paying clients that they get from those events. Okay, so that's a huge lever. Now, this may sound exciting, like, hey, I want to do one of those high leverage equations. And it should, this is really, these are the ideal areas, the ideal business models for most coaching businesses long term, if you're going to settle on a coaching business and stay in it long term. But I have a warning for you. And that is that if you're not already a professional speaker, or you're not already a professional and well-trained and successful internet marketer, do not expect these higher leverage, more advanced equations to work for you. They won't. If you're a professional platform speaker, a professional workshop leader, this can work, but not if you're not. If you're a professional internet marketer, this definitely will work. But if you're not, it won't. So, and the reason I'm saying this is because, in the boot camp, there's a good chance you're a brand new coach. So don't think that just because I'm sharing these equations with you, that in this next 3-4 months, you're going to just have that equation work out. If you do that, even if you play full out, you've got a long road to hoe on those to get to a level of professionalism and mastery that it really turns around and starts to give you high leverage payoffs. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying if you're new, use the one that really works first to bankroll yourself, and then reinvest in your education and your resources and your team and just everything you could do to build up a real business before you expect that the event-based equation or the internet-based equation is going to pay off for you. So get started on the basics, work on that, get a couple clients, and then we could talk about the next level. So use this distinction, use this equation, deconstruct where do you want your business to be? Where do you want to be at the end of your 30 days if you're in the boot camp? If you're not in the boot camp, set a short-term goal and figure out what's your equation going to be. And then your only job, as I think I talked about in the sessions that I just shared with you, is to dedicate yourself to make sure that you never walk away from at least an entire month of your business without actually applying that equation in terms of exactly the number of hours that you need to put in, or the minimum, if you will, and the number of free sessions that you're committed to run successfully according to the way that I just described them. And your NCs, your new paying clients, will usually meet your expectations. Now, the one exception is that if you never set this up for you before and you don't know exactly what your equation is, you got to work for a couple months to find out what your progression is, how many prospecting hours you need to actually spend in order to get each free session, and how many free sessions you need to run on average to get your next paying client as well. Once you know that equation, you can hit this exactly and plan your business accordingly. And then any day that you want to generate a new paying client, you can wake up in the morning and know that you can hit the ground running. And with a phone and a little bit of transportation, you can control whether or not you're going to get the next paying client. And you can take care of yourself, your family, and your clients in a really powerful way and make a real business, a real living, and a real life out of this as well. Look forward to talking to you next time. Take care until then.